Alrighty.
Hello and welcome to the False Start Fantasy Podcast with your hosts Cameron and Josh. On this week's episode, we are going to talk briefly about the NFL's Week 8 and looking forward into Week 9. But more importantly, it is the halfway point in the season, and we have a special awards show this week that we're going to be giving out our mid-season awards. But before we get into that, I get to introduce my favorite co-host of all time. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Been sick most of the week, but I'm good enough to still record.
Well, there we go. Were you pretty shocked by the trade deadline yesterday?
Holy cow! What was it? 10 trades on the day?
Yeah, I think it was 10, or it's 10 total trades, which is pretty good.
Like normally, if you have a lot, there's like a lot of minor ones. There were some heavy hitters this time around, so
Yeah,
definitely
Calvin
exciting.
Ridley came out of nowhere, if you ask me. I did not expect
No
that,
kidding.
but we'll focus on fantasy implications for now and go ahead and get into our first matchup where I destroyed Billy this week with 147.9 to 101.4. Really, the only person who disappointed me on my team was Matt Gay, my kicker. So I'm not too I'm feeling pretty good about this. I still got 8 points for my defense, and that was the Falcons, and that was a 37 to 34 game. So looking forward, I think that Joe Mixon had a kind of down week. They couldn't run the ball, and when they did, it just was not working for them. I think the Browns' defensive line was just better, which is not something you've been saying much against the run so far this year for the Browns, but I'm not too worried about any of the players there. Though I did drop Dak Prescott. I don't think he'll be in this many shootouts for the rest of the season, but considering the bye week, I decided to go with Justin Fields. Uh,
Interesting
on
choice.
Billy's side, 0 points from Carlson and 0 points from the Raiders. Josh, talk to me about what are you doing with that offense? I know we're just talking about the kicker here, but
Um, it's definitely panic mode. If they have the weapons, so it's I'm not sure if it's just Josh McDaniels. Maybe Derek Carr is just I don't know. He's being vintage Derek Carr at times, maybe trying to channel the energy of his older brother. Uh, at this point, I just don't know what's happening. Like in theory, they should be a good offense. However, I think the main problem will be Josh McDaniels in this case. So hopefully he's gone. But it's definitely a panic time.
I would 100% agree. If they're not out of the playoffs, I think they will be soon. Other people I want to talk about, Tyler Algier, 17 and a half points. Thinking he's the RB1 right now for the team?
I know Cordell Patterson is back for practice. I don't think he'll play this week, but I could be mistaken on that. But as long as Cordell Patterson is still out, yes, he will. As soon as Cordell Patterson is back, though, different story. He'll probably have an increased role compared to what it was before because he's played pretty well, but not what it is right now.
Yeah. And personally, I'm happy to see 12.3 from Michael Pittman with the backup quarterback against the Washington Commanders. So I'm pretty happy with that. But we'll go ahead and move on to the next matchup here. Kyler got destroyed by you this week, Josh. Everyone on your team decided to just go absolutely off except for Davis Mills and Raheem Mostert. I think
Yeah,
you dropped Davis Mills. Am I correct on that?
yeah, I already did. Pat Mahomes was on bye, so I needed QB. So I was like, Houston might be down quite a bit. Garbage time. Hope for that.
Yeah,
And it happened.
I think we saw what we have seen so far every game from Davis Mills, and just it wasn't bad. And
Yeah.
8.88 wasn't too bad. On the other side, Kyler starting Zeke to get him 0 points. I wasn't sure if this was on purpose or not. He had a lot of bye weeks this week, a lot of injuries, and so I think he was just like, I'm not going to drop any of my players. I'm just going to start someone and get 0 points, which of course is kind of sad, but it is what it is. Maybe he hoped he would play anyways.
Possibly. Or he just didn't realize it in time.
The guy I want to focus on though, Josh, and he's on your starting roster. Raheem Mostert, 7.7 points, and the Dolphins just traded for Jeff Wilson. I know they traded out Chase Edmonds. Are you expecting Jeff Wilson to fulfill the Chase Edmonds role, or are you thinking they're going to go 1A, 1B with those running backs now?
Mm, maybe for the first few weeks, more of a Chase Evans role. However, probably here within the next 2 weeks, I expect more of a 1A, 1B. Wilson should still have the majority of the snaps. However, I would expect Wilson to come in at decent. I kind of think um, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt almost.
Yeah, 8 games into the season, Raheem Mostert has established himself as the one there. I don't think that just goes away just because you traded for a guy with like a fifth round pick or something that it was. So I think they'll be doing okay moving forward. Greg Dulcich, though, that's the tight end I want to talk about. Right now, that guy's looking hot. There's some fire there from the Broncos in the tight end position. It's purely Dulcich. I think Albert Owebanon has completely disappeared. I could not even name another player of the Titans on that roster. So, are you feeling pretty good about Dulcich moving forward, Josh?
Um, yeah. Other than this week, I think I'll probably be starting him moving forward. Um, he's looked good. Didn't even score a touchdown this week, and he had 12, almost 13 points.
Yeah,
So
very happy surprise.
as he and Russ continue to build that connection, maybe he'll throw a little bit more of the tight ends way. Because I mean, he's a beast. He was 4 for 87. He never got another target, which shame on Russ for that one. But the man's a beast, and I mean, hair man, hair.
Yeah. The last guy I want to talk about here, TJ Hawkinson, just got traded to the Vikings. 11 points, but completely new offense. Are you just going to start him this week? If, he's your tight end and he's been your tight end so far this season, are you going to start him on a completely new offense or are you going to give him a week?
If you already have a backup, I'd probably start your backup for this week. Otherwise, I'd most likely, yeah, you'd almost have to start him in that case. He won't have as much of a role, but right side it is. They just need to tell him, hey, run this route. As long as he knows a few of the plays, he should be. Unless he's with a better offense, so that will help quite a bit as well.
I think so too. Better chance in the red zone, considering they won't throw it to Justin Jefferson there. I'll go ahead and move on to our next matchup here. Brandon versus Sam. This was not a very spicy matchup here. Both players not even getting over 100 points. Josh Allen with a down week of 17.6, and Sam even starting Darren Waller, who was out this week. Hunter Renfro on the same offense, 1.6 points. And Devonta Adams 1.2. We've already talked about the Raiders offense, but I want to talk about a good offense now. Miles Sanders with the Eagles, 13.8 points and 7.3 from Devonta Smith on the same team. This was a game that the Eagles just controlled it start to finish on defense, offense. I feel very good about both of these players moving forward. I know that neither one of them is really blowing up on your roster, getting you a ton of points each week, but I think that's a big part of it is because AJ Brown was just so amazing this week. And while you can count on AJ Brown to be great, I don't think he'll do that every week. I feel great about starting Eagles players pretty much no matter who they are.
I would have to agree. When I acquired AJ Brown, it was simply because I wanted a part of that offense, and I saw the opportunity to trade for him, and I wanted the key of the offense outside of Jalen Hurts. So that's why I went for it, and I definitely haven't regretted that choice, especially this week.
Yeah, interesting surprise here, at least to me, was Michael Carter getting 10.1 points against the New England Patriots. That was kind of a game that was both quarterbacks trying to lose their job as fast as they possibly could. Zach Wilson really struggling in every single part of the game. He would escape perfectly clean pockets for no reason. He couldn't do anything on the run. His accuracy was just bad, and he's did the same thing the Jets quarterbacks have been doing for a while and throwing picks to Devin McCourty. So Not looking great there from the Jets offense. If I'm wanting a piece of the Eagles, I'm not wanting a piece of the Jets.
I would have to agree, especially now that Brees Hall is out. Um, my boy. Um, yeah, now that he's out, Conklin maybe if you're needing a tight end, but he's literally the only piece of this offense I'd run right now, unless you're in a desperation play.
I think you're right. Now, I have an interesting stat for you. In PPR formats, Brees Hall, what do you think overall still on the season? Which running back he is? So, is he RB 15, RB 2? Where is he at?
RB6 before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Scored fairly well. RB9.
He is the RB 12 right now on the season, but he does have that by a pretty considerable margin still. We're gonna see him fall, but and I don't think it's gonna be like Derrick Henry last year. He was the RB1 for 3 weeks after he was injured, but I think that uh, Brees Hall is definitely going to be an interesting discussion next year. Moving on to our next matchup here, Malachi taking it to Chris, 148 points. Christian McCaffrey leading his team 40.26 on the 49ers.
The
I mean,
Browns
that
get.
is just awesome. We've
Uh,
already talked about the Eagles' offense. Dallas Goedert 12.4, Jalen Hurts 28.4. Definitely good things to see there. But the guy that I do want to talk about, David Montgomery had that horrible fumble against the Cowboys, and Khalil Herbert at the same game was having a fantastic time running all over those guys. I guess I should say those boys. Josh, are you worried about David Montgomery and his role on this team?
yeah, I actually would be. Like in the past, Montgomery was good, but at this point, he's just injury ridden. He seems like he gets injured every single year at least once. Then you got Khalil Herbert, who's almost like Tony Pollard in a way. He's the young blood. He's a lot more quicker, a lot more explosive. So I'll put it this way: if you worry about Zeke's job, I would, other than the fact that Jerry loves Zeke, then I would worry for David Montgomery.
Yeah, I'm actually in a league where someone dropped Zeke. Shallow rosters, they dropped Zeke instead of a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so I was definitely on that to be interesting. On the other side of this matchup, Kyle Pitts finally 19 points in the game against the Panthers. How excited are you about Kyle Pitts moving forward, Josh?
Eh,
Exactly.
it's the Falcons' offense. Like, if they had their way, they would run it 100% of the time.
Yeah,
Obviously, in this league, you have to throw it at least a few times, but finally showed his athleticism. They finally gave him some targets, but I also wouldn't count on Atlanta scoring 37 points in a week again either.
Yeah, when you have supposedly a generational tight end prospect, you don't want to see 5 catches. Doesn't matter that it was 80 yards and a touchdown. 5 catches is just not the volume you're needing to see. I think you can continue to start Kyle Pitts in the hopes that, maybe he keeps doing more with those targets that he's getting. But, whew, Falcons first in the division. It's just not a piece. That's just not an offense I want a piece of. The last person I want to talk about here, real quick, Gabe Davis, 5.5 points. Just a down week, Josh.
Um, Davis is a complete boom bust. He either gets 30 points or he's going to get you, like you see right now, 5.5. Um, it literally just depends on the week. Like, can't remember how many weeks ago when he had 30 points on just 3 receptions. He has that potential. And again, nearly does nearly every other receiver, granted, but has more chance. But at the same time, yeah, I wouldn't count on it either. Stephon Diggs is still a thing on that offense, so can't count on too much.
Yeah, it's sort of looking like a Tyler Lockett situation there, which is totally okay. I think you're going to continue to start him every week because his big weeks are big. Moving on
Yeah.
to Our next matchup here, Bandon versus Preston. Another game, lots of high scoring weeks this week. Preston, 160, almost 161 points, despite only 6.3 from Mark Andrews. Everybody going big for Preston this week.
Highest scoring team of the week. He beat me by point 0.1. Fun fact.
Wow. Wow, that is interesting.
Yeah.
33.9 from DeAndre Hopkins. I say he's back. DeAndre Hopkins is back, and he's better, as good as ever, if not better. And I am so sad that I sold him in my dynasty league. I'll tell you that.
Thank you very much, because I'm the one who got him.
Yes, you
Um,
are.
uh, for this league, I was really hoping to get D Hop in the draft. Preston took him a lot sooner than I thought he would.
Well, I think
And
Preston traded for him, didn't he? Someone took him very early, yes, but I think
that,
Preston
that,
traded for him.
that's right. It was Chris who took him, and he traded with Chris.
Yes, yes, because Chris was having a dumpster fire at the start of the year.
Mhm. So he's always been one of those players that's on my radar, but Preston was never in a bad enough situation where he might have gotten desperate enough. And I definitely regret not pulling the trigger on that one.
Yeah, the other guy I want to look at here, T. Higgins only had 13.9 points in a game that the Bengals needed to throw. Jamar Chase was out. They needed to throw. They needed to throw. They needed to throw. Yet his score was horrible until that final garbage time touchdown that they had, and he would have ended up with under 7 points on the week if it wasn't for that. And I personally am very worried about that. If T. Higgins cannot, when he's given the chance to be the wide receiver one, cannot be the wide receiver one, I very much worry about that offense.
Yeah, right now I'm going to quote my one of my favorite sports YouTubers I watch, Urinating Tree. Bengals have become the Bungles again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know what's up. You spent all that money for a quote unquote improved O line, and it's just a repeat of last year. I'm not sure if it's offensive scheme, if the linemen are just simply that bad, if they're playing just good pass rushes, or I don't know what's up with the Bengals right now, but they are definitely in worry mode. I wouldn't say panic yet. You still have weapons, you still have good defense, still have one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but you're definitely getting close to panic mode.
Yeah, on the other side of this matchup, Bandon 117.3 points. He got 31.5 from Tyreek Hill, looking pretty awesome there, and a pleasant surprise 16.4 from Devin Duvernay. But overall, no one really disappointing that hard for his team. Damian Harris 7.2, still coming back from injury, and Tom Brady 17.1, Devin Singletary 9.3. It's not nobody really disappointing that hard for the team. No stinkers other than maybe Tyler Higbee with 3.5, but
Yeah,
it's just not the you need some more, a little bit higher from everybody, especially if you're going to compete now that we're getting closer to playoffs.
yeah, I'd say literally Higby was the only downside for his week. Like he had a solid week. If it wasn't for the fact that everyone was like, you know what, going to score 130 points this week, if not more. Like normally in our league so far this year, he would have won this week on most cases.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm sure he was one of the higher scorers of the week, but he just wasn't able to pull it through on this one. Moving on to our next matchup here, we had Ethan versus Jaden, and oh my gosh, does this have to be the most frustrating thing you've ever seen from Jaden's team?
Mm,
112.3, the chance to take down the number two, who put up a not too bad 124 points, but definitely not Ethan's best week of the year. And Jaden's team, Alvin Kamara, 42.8 and a 33.7 from Tony Pollard. And then that is it for the good on his team. I
yeah,
mean, 1.94 from Derek Carr, 5.6 from John Jonathan Taylor, 2.6 from Robert Woods, 2.3 from Cortland Sutton, and -1 from the Steelers defense. I mean, everybody else on Jaden's corpse of a team just decided they did not want to play this week.
Yeah, the only one that put in at least a little bit of effort was Dalton Schultz. He had 13 and almost and a half, so at least he put up a good effort. But yeah, everyone else just decided not to play apparently.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's definitely a heartbreaker from Jaden because when you see your phone just blowing up, Alvin Kamara touchdown, Tony Pollard big play, like you're feeling great, and then you look at the rest of the team and you cry.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've talked about the players that all have down weeks. Which of these players, though, are you seriously worried about on Jaden's team?
Jonathan Taylor.
Really?
Um,
Mic off.
so they weren't okay. Washington's defense hasn't been the best. Don't get me wrong; they are maybe slightly above average, if anything, when it comes
Mic
to run
on.
defense, but they're nothing special.
Mic
Nothing
off.
to write home about. He still only put up 5.6. This is the I don't even know how many
Mic
times
on.
this season he's had what 1, 2 good weeks. Now, granted, he's been battling injuries, but even then, for what you paid for this guy, the fact that he's doing this bad against commies of all teams, I'm definitely in worry mode.
Yeah, and it's not looking better. The Colts look like they're going to be moving on to a rebuilding year with Ellinger now as the quarterback. Who knows what that offense is going to look like? I am also very worried about Jonathan Taylor. The other guy that I don't know if I can say I'm worried because I had pretty low expectations for Derek Carr on the season anyways, but 2 points is just not what you're wanting to see. That's truly abysmal in a game against the Saints
Yeah.
defense that was pretty average, if not below average so far in the season, but then turned it on against the Raiders. Don't know what they said to him to get him extra fired up, but it worked. On the other side of this matchup, Cooper Kupp, 22.9. Awesome again. Um, Lamar Jackson getting some good points, 21.8 in a good Thursday night matchup. I really enjoyed that game. But the guy I do want to talk about, Chris Olave only had 10.2 points in a game that they won 24-0. Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry were still out, yet he wasn't really establishing himself as the one. Are you worried about that moving forward, Josh?
No, not at all. Basically, you literally just have to look at the other side of the matchup to tell why he didn't score as much. Alvin Kamara had 42. Raiders scored nothing at all, so you might as well keep running the ball.
Mic
So
off.
he'll have his week still. It depends on the game script at the time. This
Mic
week they
on.
didn't have to throw. The Raiders couldn't do anything.
I think you're exactly right with that. And it's kind of comforting that in a game that his running back was being amazing, was 42.8, that Chris Olave was still able to give you a floor of 10.2. I think that's pretty good from them.
I have to agree.
All right. Well, that concludes our weekly matchup review on the week. We're going to go ahead and move on to our waiver weapons. We did not have an episode last week, so our waiver weapons that we're going over from last time are from week 7. Davis Mills was my selection. He was a pretty good quarterback on the week against the Raiders. Hunter Renfrow was unfortunately a miss in that same game against the Texans, and Nico Collins was doing great things at the start of that game and then went down with an injury. And as many of you know, he is still out for this week. So our total's moving on to 5-2 for me, 4-3 for Josh, and a sad 1-6 from our guests.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, you hoping to have a bounce back this week?
I hope so. I mean, process was there for Hunter Renfro. Darren Waller is out. That's typically when he does his best. He just missed. There's no other way to put it. He just missed. He came close. Probably about another 4 points or so. I'd say he was a hit, but he missed out sadly.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and start with my waiver weapon of the week, and I choose Trevor Lawrence, who not many people know this, but Trevor Lawrence has been a QB1 for about 4 weeks in a row now. He moved silently into the QB 12 spot when he was targeting Christian Kirk 1,000 times a game, and now that he's given the dump off such as ETN, he's moved into the QB 10 spot right now on the season. And while the Jaguars are not making moves that are in a win now situation by any means, trading away James Robinson and getting a guy who's still suspended for the whole year, you can say that Trevor Lawrence has at least been a pleasant surprise on the season, looking better than he did last year. We're still seeing good pocket presence from him. It's just we got to see the accuracy get better, and I think that he'll be a great play this week against the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland.
Yeah, I am surprised he was on waivers. I'll put it that way, because to me, he's a QB you should at least have on your roster if you plan on having a backup. If you don't have like one of the big 4 or 5, he's definitely worth a stash just in case on a matchup.
Yeah, it's good to have a young guy with the upside that Trevor Lawrence can have, and we also know that he can run, though he's not doing that much in the NFL. The other waiver weapon we have on the week is Josh's selection.
Yes, so I am going to be going with our old friend, excuse me there, Ethan Froden's Ryan Top of the Hill, aka Ryan Tannehill. Basically, the reasoning behind this one, and I'm hoping he actually plays, otherwise this is definitely going to backfire. But he's going up against the Chiefs. Don't get me wrong, King Henry is, well, obviously King Henry, but you have to throw in order to beat the Chiefs. And in the best case scenario, as a Chiefs fan, they're going to have to throw a lot, so that means more points for Ryan Tannehill.
Mic on.
Yeah, the Chiefs secondary is actually one of the youngest in the NFL, and if I'm honest, it shows quite a lot. Trent McDuffie is off of IR finally, and he was practicing this week. I don't know if he'll be starting or even playing that much in the game Sunday, but I still think that is definitely a secondary that Ryan Tannehill can take advantage of. I do think Treylon Burks is still out, but he should be at least able to dump the ball off to Derrick Henry and have a good week.
I did not realize Ryan Tannehill was 34.
Yeah, it is a surprising age. You think he's younger, and then you're like, oh, you could be retiring soon.
Yeah. I just now noticed I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, 2012 first round pick. So definitely pretty interesting there.
Mic off. Mic on.
That does it for our waiver weapons of the week. And before we close out, we have a super special awards show that we're going to be doing with the mid-season awards. And you can see them all right there. I'll explain them as we go down. But the first one we have here is the Fantasy King. And that goes to the player in our league who has the best record with a perfect 8-0. That goes to my co-host, Whopper.
Thank you, thank you. I'm back on top like normal.
The next one here is the points producer. This is the most points scored.
Alrighty, so. My bad. Do you want me to take over on this
Yeah,
one now?
go ahead.
Okay, so yeah. Points producer, kind of like what you're just saying there. This is the one who scores the most points so far this season. And coming in with a whopping 1,047.44.
Mic on.
Once again, myself.
Yeah, impressive. Over 1,000 points there from you. And excuse me. I believe Ethan is in second, but I don't think it's a close race right now. Now, the next award we have here is the Punching Bag Award. That goes to the player who has the most points against them. And he already knows it. It's Damn It Bobby Billy with 1,061 points against him. If he played Josh every single week, he would still have less points against him. Definitely not feeling good there from Billy.
Mic off.
Yeah, poor Billy on that one. He's had a rough season, to say the least. Next one we have Well,
Mic on.
actually, I was the best. So this person, if they played every single person every single week, this would be the person that has the best record. That goes to none other than True Fan Club, Ethan. Impressive, 63, 25, and 0.
Yeah, no ties so far on the season. Nobody has scored the same points as another player. I think that's kind of interesting, but Ethan leading that one. Next one we have here is the Boom Baby Award. With the most highest scoring weeks, the player who has been the highest scorer on the week, the most number of times, and that goes to a shocking Fidel's Piston with 2 of the highest scoring weeks so far in the season. A lot of people with 1, but Preston with Fidel's Piston is the only person with 2.
So close, so close. Moving on to the next one. Obviously, just talked about the
Mic
best.
off.
Now we gotta talk about the worst. So these are the guys. This time we actually have a tie. Who have scored the lowest amount of points at most times this season. And we have on a win. First pick Jonathan, both with 2. So 2 times
Mic
they have
on.
been the low scorers of the week.
Yeah, definitely embarrassing there for both of these guys, trying to have a race for last place, I guess. The next award we have here is the Efficiency King. This is the manager who has been the most optimal, starting as best a lineup as possible every single week, and has only missed out on 89.2 points. That goes to Fidel's Piston again. If he had started the perfect possible lineup from his bench and his starters, he would only have gotten 89.2 more points so far this year. That's pretty impressive.
I would have to agree on that one. And we just talked about the most efficient. Now let's talk about the least. The RNG Buffoon. So this one is the least optimal and coming in with 160.12 difference. Sadly, in this case, it goes to my co-host. That being the joking.
Yeah, definitely embarrassing there. I've missed out on 160.12 points by starting the wrong players every single week. I think I just hit an RNG button and hope for the best, is at least what it seems like to me. The
It
next
seems like
award,
it sometimes.
yeah, the next award here we have is the Got Carried. So the person who had the highest scoring started player so far this season, and that goes to my co-host Whopper, who started Stephon Diggs and got 44.8 points from him in a single week. Definitely a good player to have that week.
Yeah, if I remember correctly for that week, he actually won me that week. I'm actually surprised at this point no one's scored higher, but I'm not complaining either.
Yeah, with Billy's luck, it was probably against him too.
Most likely. Next one we have To the Moon. So this is the person who has scored the most points in a single week. And with
Mic
181.1, we
off.
got Jack Meekoff. So
Mic
very
on.
impressive week for him. As one of those, the previous week he had scored, I want to say it was like 50, something like that. And then all of a sudden he just comes out and does this, and it's like, where was this a week ago?
Yeah, I think we even went on to the podcast saying, wow, Kyler jacked me off. That team is in trouble. And then he puts up this the week after. This guy's really alternating with his scores. Likes the up and down, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Next word we have is the market manager. This is the person who has made the most waiver moves, and I am super happy to say that is Fidel's Piston with 43 moves on the waiver wire so far this season. And honestly, I'm super happy to see that because he's one of our newest players in the league, and I love it when I see someone who's involved and is making a lot of waiver moves, trying to get the best possible team for himself there.
I would have to agree because in the past it's been a competition between me and you for who has the most waiver
Mm-hmm.
acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
But for once, it's neither one of us, so I am okay with that one. But we are finally down to our last one, the Merchant Manipulator. This is the person who has the most trades on the season, and that goes to none other than myself with 5 trades so far.
Yeah,
Sadly, 2 of them, they currently no longer play in the season because they both tore their ACLs. Rip Javante Williams and Brees Hall.
Yeah, you seem to like trading for guys that are gonna get injured. So stay away from Chiefs players. Actually, I think you traded for Mahomes, didn't you?
Also, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, so you're gonna need to trade away Mahomes as soon as you possibly can, because your team is dangerous.
Nah, I think I'll keep him.
All right, well, that does it for our midseason awards. Congratulations to all of our award winners. I'm very curious about how this is going to end at the end of the season. I really think that a lot of these are going to change, but I think a few of them are going to stay the same. Josh, I know that you're going to say that you'll stay the fantasy king when we do this again at the end of the season, but which one of these do you think is most likely to change?
Um, Probably the got carried. Something tells me Tyreek Hill's gonna have one of those weeks. Um, Maybe someone else will have one of those weeks as well. It's hard to say at this point, but typically, I think it's 55 is usually around the average for the highest individual score for the week. And so far, no one's hit it. Usually, there's at least one, if not multiple. So to me, it's just a matter of time before someone tops Stephon Diggs for that one.
I definitely agree. I think the one that is most likely going to stay the same, to me at least, is well, actually, I was the best with the Minshew fan club. I think Ethan's team has just really been consistent every single week, putting up good points. And I think consistency, high points, great team. I think he'll continue to have the top of the overall if we played each other if everyone played everyone every week, but I'm not sure if he'll be able to take you down at the Fantasy King. We'll see when we get down there. And I would say that I think the merchant manipulator is going to be the thing that changes the most. I think some of our co-league mates are going to be getting a little antsy, thinking, I need to make the playoffs. I need to make some changes. So I think there's going to be some trades coming down. I'm excited to see it, but that about does it for this week's episode of the podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. Josh, do you have anything else to add for this week?
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. Well, you can find us on Twitter at Josh Newshafer and at Cameron's Ego. We will be back next week before week 9 begins. Be on the lookout for our next episode so you can be ready before the ball is snapped. Thank you and goodbye.